Hey everybody, welcome to Geek Addicts.
Hello and welcome to Geek Addicts, the pop culture podcast where we missed the part where that's our problem. My name's Matt. With me, the rich kid who has daddy issues, Bill Barber. How's it going, Bill?
I'm quite the scientist, don't you know? So I forgot that line was from this movie, by the way.
Yeah, I don't know why, I always, like, from all the memes and shit, I always assumed it was the third movie when he was doing his whole Bully Maguire thing, but no, it's the first movie.
The fun part for me is, like, I knew it was William Dafoe, and I knew the line, but I completely forgot it was Spider-Man. Like, I was like, oh, this is from this movie. Oh, man. But yeah, we'll get to that later. It's been a week. It's been quite the week.
That's for sure. What have you been up to this week, Bill?
Working. The usual, working, doing podcasts, catching up on the usual anime stuff. I'm actually behind. I haven't had a chance to watch my weeklies.
Yeah, I haven't watched Apothecary Diaries or Solo Leveling yet.
Solo Leveling's not out yet. I know that. It's that usually comes out later in the day. I haven't watched Apothecary. I haven't watched Daima yet. The most recent episode.
Well, the frog episode of Apothecary Diaries is supposedly the one for today. So
I just want to get what this is, because, like,
I don't know. I only heard about it from you, and then I saw the next episode preview. I'm like, oh, there's a frog. It's this one.
Well, it's been like a meme going around, like, the Apothecary Diaries community, and I'm like, I want to know what this means, but I also don't want to spoil myself. So
I gotcha.
I'm sure it's something stupid. That's probably nothing much, but we'll see. Also, My Happy Marriage got, like, indefinitely delayed, and Netflix is not saying shit about it. So
yeah, I thought that was weird because I thought the missed week was last week, so I thought it was weird that we didn't get one. I didn't look into it at all, but
it's especially annoying that because the new episode's out on Netflix Japan.
Oh, that's bizarre. Maybe it's like a dubbing issue.
It means it's a dubbing issue, but that makes me wonder, why didn't they release the Japanese and just, like, delay the dub?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe they just didn't want to release them separately. I don't know.
It's probably that. The thing that's driving everyone nuts is the fact that they're not saying anything. And
yeah, well, it's Netflix, so.
Especially because the finale is supposed to be next Wednesday, according to what they said online. But now everyone's like, well,
why Wednesday?
Exactly. Like, they're just like, could you guys tell us?
It's been a Monday release schedule. What are you talking about?
I don't know. Netflix is dropping the ball hard on this one because now everybody's flocking to, like, illegal streaming sites, and Netflix is going to get none of those views.
Yep, that's about right. So I went in, like, to on Thursday because that's when I get a couple of my ongoing shows, and was disappointed to find that Dr. Stone had a part 1 cutoff for this season. And there's going to be, I think it's not until, like, July that they come back. But, which, I mean, it's fine. It's only a couple months, so it's not the biggest deal in the world. But I was really digging it. And also the fact that they're splitting it up like that means they're probably going to change the song. And I'm a little disappointed because I really like the opening for this season. So yeah, I don't want it to change.
No, I hear you. I did watch Zenshu recently.
That's on my list because I remember Slade talking about it.
Also, you might want to tune into GNC next week. You might hear about it. But I watched that. It goes by really quick, and it's also completely not what I was expecting. So
I have zero expectations, so I'm just going to go in blind.
It's very pretty. Mappa did good work, but
oh wait, is this that one that was like? I think he's talked about it in a little more detail at Driveway Beers. I think I know the one.
maybe. Yeah, it was very pretty though. So I watched that. I started watching Attack on Titan Junior High.
Mhm.
That show's a fucking fever dream. Like
It is, but it's kind of amazing. Like,
I was
and
just watching it.
it's
I'm
weird because
like,
I
what?
thought it was longer. Apparently, it's only 12
It's
episodes.
only 12 episodes and they're all like 15 minutes long. Like it's not that long at all. And I got like 4 episodes in, and the whole time I'm just like, what the fuck is this? Like,
But it's so funny because they put so many, like, just like the regular show. There's so many little, like, oh hey, remember this? Oh, I know you read this in the manga. It's
so
just like,
not gonna lie, there was a scene where the Colossal Titan shows up, and I immediately am looking through the crowd. I'm like, all right, where's that boring fuck? Like, where is he? And I'm like, oh, he's not here. Good. They thought about that.
yep. That's the whole fucking thing where he just grabs his lunch and just
Yeah. I was just like, I was
the
like,
whole like concept with that show is just goofy as fuck, and I'm kind of here for it.
I don't know. I like Levi as like the president of the anti-Titan club or whatever.
Hmm.
That was
Pretty
funny.
great. Um, but yeah, that's a fun show. I finished catching up with My Hero, so
Nice.
I'm just waiting for the final season. Although I believe the spin-off show is coming out very soon. It might even be this week. I'm not sure.
Hmm.
Um, but I guess that's gonna be like a prequel thing because like the setup for My Hero, like, kind of, it says that like the whole like everybody kind of developing powers thing started like a long time ago.
Hmm.
Like it's been going on for like 100 years, 150 years, something like that. And this is supposed to be taking place like towards the beginning of that. I don't know how close, but in that range. So that should
Hmm.
be interesting.
Yeah, hope.
I don't know how it's gonna handle like timeline kind of shit, because like obviously like the mainline series takes place in like more modern day setting. So is it gonna be like I'm like wondering, like, is it gonna be like an old school like Meiji era Japan, but all these superheroes? Like, I don't know. I'm curious.
Hmm.
Um,
Have to wait and see.
but yeah, I finished that, and I also uh, went through Sakamoto Days.
Nice.
I enjoyed it. I thought it was a very fun show, but I don't know, maybe something about it made me feel like I would have liked it more if I had watched it week to week.
It was very fun week to week. Like it was a very good week to because it's very serialized.
Yeah, I feel like if I had watched it that way, I would have gotten more out of it, if that makes sense. Not
Yeah.
to say I didn't enjoy it. I thought it was very fun, but yeah,
Um,
it's just the structure of it. I feel like would have worked better for a week to week watch.
I'll save saying anything because you might want to check into GNC next week. Hint, hint. Yeah.
Fair enough.
But yeah. Other than that, today I had to run some errands this morning, but while I was out, I decided to stop by the local retro store, which I haven't done in since you guys were up here.
Hmm.
So I was like, I might as well pop in. They rearranged the store again, so that's always fun. Um, but I picked up a few games. I haven't retro collected in a while, so it was nice to get that get that exertion addiction out of my system for a bit.
Yeah.
I found Legend of Heroes, Trails from Zero, because I've been looking for this game forever, and I finally found it for under $80. It
There you
was like
go.
20, so not bad. And then I found some really obscure PS1 games that looked bizarre that I had to try. I found Kagero Deception 2. I have no idea what this is, but it was interesting looking.
Fair enough.
Uh, The Unholy War. That, that cover just alone was like, what the fuck is this?
Fair enough.
And then the one that I saw and I had to pick up just because I've heard nothing but great things about this game, but it's always been one that's very elusive. Incredible Crisis.
That's a cover.
Yeah, it's this game from everybody I've talked to. Apparently, this game is like ridiculous, but it's also like super hard to find. And I've
Hmm.
been always looking for it. I finally saw it. It was like $70, so a bit more than I wanted to spend, but I'll probably never see a good copy of it again. So
Hmm. You have to let me
it,
know what you think of it, because if you have good things to say, I might throw it on my Embernick.
it's like a mini game compilation, but it looks ridiculous. It looks
Oh,
very
So it's like an old school UFO 50 kind of thing.
Yeah, kind of. It's only single player, so there's no multiplayer aspects, but
Mhm.
it looks very, very Japanese, and I'm kind of intrigued by it.
Fair enough. I also I beat Castlevania.
Nice.
Actually, not long after our last recording, I whipped through it. Because I just hit a point where I was like, okay, I only need like a couple more of the like whatever, like the relics, the Vlad relics, and I got those, and pretty much just like swept right through Dracula. Because once I got that sword, it was like fucking all over.
Yeah.
And also I did a bit of grinding. With the guys right outside the clock tower and the reverse castle.
Hmm.
And I pretty much just got up to level 60, and then I was like, all right, I'm ready. Just
Yeah.
plow through it.
No, that's a
Then I beat that, and then I immediately went to Spider-Man 2 Enter Electro, and I had started and beat that this week.
just you see what I meant by like it's good, but it's definitely not the same level of polish as the first one.
Yeah, it's definitely the control isn't nearly as smooth. Like it still has like the same kind of like um the same kind of like skeletal structure, I guess, of the first game.
It runs off
But
the same engine, but it was a different team entirely, and they tried to do a lot more than the first game, and you could tell the PS1 wasn't quite up to snuff for that.
yeah, and like the controls were a little bit more jank than the first one.
Yeah,
Um, and also it wasn't as silly as the first one, which I was a little disappointed about.
different writers. No surfing the web.
Mhm.
They made
But
Eddie. They made fucking Venom just like a fucking clown in the first one, which is
I loved it. It was so funny.
also he. So Reno Romero as Spider-Man, he only voices Spider-Man in those two games in that really obscure Spider-Man Unlimited series from like the 90s that's really shit.
Mhm.
Um those are the only times he ever voiced Spider-Man, but he's actually a really good Spider-Man. I liked his performance.
He fit really well, I thought. Yeah,
You know, he also voiced Batman
no kidding.
in the not the animated series, that like later series that came out after that called The Batman.
I didn't care for that one as much.
You know, I've rewatched it recently. It's actually better than I remember. I think it's because I think it's just because like, you know, with time you actually can look past. I think when it first came out, I was kind of like, this is an animated series, so I don't like it, blah.
I think
Um,
that's pretty much where I was at too. Like I wanted like that like expanded universe, that like animated universe that they had going, and
hmm.
it just wasn't that, and that just kind of turned me off.
I I rewatched it a little while ago on Max, and I thought it was actually a lot better than I remembered. Like it did some interesting stuff. I'm not even sure if it's still on Max though, because Max decided to nuke most of their DC content for some reason.
Well, I've managed to collect a bunch of the live action movies on my hard drive,
Hmm.
so um, not all of them. I do still have some blind spots, but I the the copies of 3 and 4 I managed to get my hands on, I wasn't able to rip because they were too damaged because they're
Hmm.
old DVDs. But but I have a bunch of other stuff, so we'll be able to keep that train going.
I'm sure those will be on Max because I know at least Superman 2 is, but
Yeah, but I'm also max increased the prices, and
oh,
last year
right then.
I had paid the annual fee, so it was about to like charge like $200
Yeah,
like
yeah,
in like 2 weeks. So I'm only gonna have max for like the next 2 weeks until the billing cycle ends, and then it's gonna go away.
gotcha.
But I mean, if I need to get it for like a week or something, or
Well,
like
I mean, next time
I
you're
get
up,
paid for like a single month or whatever.
yeah. Now next time you're up, you can rip the ones I have. So
Gotcha. Um, but yeah, I beat the Spider-Man Enter Electro game, and I started playing Go Go Akmon because I just wanted to get a jump start on that, get a feel for it.
hmm,
Because we may hear us cover that in more detail later.
yeah. Um, yeah, other than that though, not a ton else going on.
Oh, and I when I finished Sakamoto Days, I just said screw it, and I started watching Fairy Tale 100 Years Quest. And I gotta say, like, I've said what I've said in the past, but I'm really happy that I'm back in the world of Fairy Tale because despite the show's problems, like it has so much going for it. Like I love the
Mm,
characters, I love the world itself. The story itself is really well done. The power system is fun. You know, it's versatile. You know what I'm saying? Like it has a lot going for it. It's just that one thing that just kind of sours it.
is it wasn't it? Didn't you say it was like the excessive fan service?
Yeah, and the thing that sucks about it is it didn't start that way. Like when the
Mm,
series started, like the first few seasons, it wasn't that bad with it. Like it was pretty standard, like with what you expect from like battle shonen shows. You
yeah,
know, it's the same kind of shit you'd see in like Bleach, One Piece, Naruto, fucking any of that shit. Freaking My Hero wasn't any it wasn't any worse than My Hero towards the beginning. And then it just got to a point later on where they were just like, you know what it was? Is because there was a part one, part two break, which they did in a really weird spot, by the way. They did it like the middle of a tournament. It was
mm,
bizarre. But they did like a part one, part two break, and it was after the part two started. That was when they started like really ramping it up. And like every next arc made it worse and worse.
yeah.
But like I don't want to just dunk on the show because it's a good show. It's just that one part of it that just makes it a little tough to watch when you get towards the end.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
But oh well, what are you gonna do? Maybe at some point in the future I'll get the manga. Oh,
Mm,
that's the other thing is I love the music of the show too. Like that's one of those like big selling points for me is the music needs to be on point.
yeah,
And Fairy Tale nails it. It's got like a very Celtic vibe to it, and I'm all there for it.
nice.
Um, but yeah, I mean, it was nice going back in, and the 100 Years Quest. At least this first part of it is only 26 or 25 episodes, so just a quick
Oh, that's
little
good.
quick little dip back into that world, and then I'll move on to something else.
Nice.
But
So are we gonna do Dima Time this week or?
yeah, I was refreshing my memory right before I hopped on here, so
Perfect. In that case, oh wait, nope,
it's playing.
it's not GNC. There we go.
Oh,
Wrong music.
I
Anyways,
didn't even notice.
no, we're not. I mean, I guess I could read this. No, I'm not doing that. Alex would fucking go ballistic if I read it here and didn't on GNC.
Yeah, right now. Let me see how many calories. So we're on episode 12. I don't remember what the title was for this episode.
I actually brought it up 1 second here because I had to refresh my memory. True Strength.
Mm-hmm. That makes
Yeah,
sense.
it was very basic.
So, oh, hiccup. So much like the title implies, this is a very fight heavy episode. Not a whole lot going on story wise.
Vegeta gets his flowers for once.
Yeah, right. So we actually have two Tamagami fights going on at once. We have Majin Buu fighting Tamagami number 1 and Vegeta fighting Tamagami number 2.
Yeah. And Vegeta got out of the Kraken.
Yeah, he slipped right out of there. It was actually like really quick. Like the last episode ended with him going in the mouth, and this episode started with him just bursting out. So like he's fighting the Kraken and the Tamagami at the same time, which you think Tamagami would give him a break, but nah, I guess not.
Nah, no, they're testing him.
Yeah. So obviously we're not going to go into like the beat for beat like fights themselves.
I think the key thing with Vegeta's fight was the fact that he not only goes Super Saiyan 2, but we also finally get to see him go Super Saiyan 3
in a like official canon material, which is the very first time that's ever happened.
And also once again decanonizing GT as much as possible.
Also kind of decanonizes Super as well, but
well, I think we're convinced these are alternate universes now.
Yeah, I mean ultimately that's kind of my opinion on the whole spiel.
But, because GT, that was a whole plot point that he couldn't go Super Saiyan 3, so Bulma had to make some stupid machine to make him go 4.
Mm-hmm.
But
So yeah, he goes Super Saiyan 3. Like, how do you feel about his design for Super Saiyan 3?
I still can't get over the fucking lack of eyebrows. Like Super Saiyan 3 just always looks so odd to me.
Well, I mean, if you expect Vegeta's final form in Super to have eyebrows, you're gonna be disappointed.
Yeah, I know. It always looks so stupid. But it's basically just Vegeta with long hair.
Yeah, but like unlike Goku and Gotenks, it remains in the Vegeta shape.
Yeah, which is interesting. He
So
almost has
it's
Raditz
still
vibes going on with that
yeah,
Widow's Peak.
it's still shooting like straight up and back, like instead of like where Goku and Gotenks have it like going down their back. Vegeta's is more like, you know,
Yeah, it's just
cone
it's
head kind of.
it really makes me want to see Nappa with like Super Saiyan 3, just giant beard. Like, please.
Yeah, right.
That would be
His
funny.
mustache is just going out like crazy.
Yeah, that was cool. He gets to kick ass and he defeats
Literally.
the yeah.
he's using his legs a lot, which leads me to believe that that whole bit that Vegeta was doing against Boo, like that was all Vegeta. That was where that came from.
I did also really like the part where once he defeats the Tamagami, it does the little test him, and like it's like this really obtuse question, and Vegeta somehow
I love Vegeta's thing with that. It's so funny.
He completely nails it, even though it's like it sounds like something that he wouldn't get right.
Yeah, because it's like this. It was like one of those kinds of word problems you get in math class where it's just like, oh, little Timmy left his house with a bag of 10 cookies. And when he came across his friend and he gave his friend 5 cookies, but his friend said that's too many cookies. So he gave 3 back. And then he walked down the street some more and he found this homeless guy and he gave him 2 cookies. You know, it's that whole kind of bit. But at the end of the question, it's like, oh, and then he comes across a snake and he gives the snake, or, you know, he gives the snake the rest of his cookies. How many cookies did the snake eat? And like Vegeta's like sitting there thinking about it, and like even Goku's sitting there like racking his brains trying to figure it out. Vegeta goes 0. So what do you mean 0? It's 0. When's the last time you saw a snake eat a fucking cookie? Snakes don't eat cookies. It's 0. And he was right. Like, that's amazing.
Just the most blunt Vegeta answer possible, and it was great.
Yeah, it's just like, oh, that was just so perfect. And I just want to like just throw this out there, like the whole concept of there being like a mental test to receive a Dragon Ball, that was a concept that was like briefly like touched on in Z, like because when they went to Namek, and I think it was when they first introduced Frieza, and he's talking to like the old Namekian who was guarding the Dragon Ball, and he said something like, "Oh, it's like a tradition where you know, Namekian warriors will attempt to collect the Dragon Balls, and they'll have to accomplish tests of strength, skill, and brains, essentially." And Frieza was like, "Oh, I offered to do these tests, but they refused me because I'm a piece of shit." And I find it really, really interesting that we're finally seeing like that type of idea with how to get the Dragon Balls, and that's really fun. I like that.
Finally acknowledging it, because like we've really had just a period of the Dragon Balls have become kind of a joke where it's like, oh yeah, I'll go get those in an hour. I'll see you later.
Yeah, especially like I love like before when they're like, oh, how do we find the Dragon Balls? Like, what do you mean find them? Everyone knows where they are. They're here, here, and here. I'm like, what are you talking about? They don't go anywhere.
Yeah.
But no, then we had the whole fight with Do and Tamagami number 1, where it starts out pretty pretty heavy, and then like all of a sudden Do just kind of drops and just starts flailing on the ground, screaming about how he wants chocolate. So Ku does his duty that he promised from before, and he runs to the store real fast and gets some chocolate, which kind of like revives Do like a senzu bean almost, and just instantly he eats the chocolate. And I love the scene where he's actually like catches the chocolate in his mouth and like instantly just starts whooping ass. And I really like his fighting style where he kind of really leans into like the Boo genes.
Yeah,
where like where he like wraps around the sword and just headbutts him, and where he folds up like a ball, like Super Boo did, and rolls at him and shit. Like I like that kind of like chaotic fighting style. It works.
It's
really
interesting
well.
seeing like a Boo that's also fully in control, well, fully like loyal, not just like a complete loose cannon like Boo originally was.
Yeah, like they're literally like. I think later on you're just gonna see like Do and Goo just chilling on the couch, hanging out, eating snacks and shit. Like,
Yeah.
but but yeah, that goes through pretty quick. And then Doo's challenge was he basically it was like adding numbers together in your head, and it was just kind of like one of those things where it would just show a bunch of numbers really fast and expect you to remember them all and add them together. And obviously everyone's thrown for a loop. Even fucking what's her name? Arinsu is like, that's bullshit. I'm good at math and I can't do that. But Ku does. And he just kind of like, he does the whole math in his head and it just kind of says it under his breath. And Do hears him and repeats it. And that's how they ultimately end up getting it. But it's like, I love the contrast between Ku and Do, where Ku is like, Ku's strong, but he's not like Tamagami level. But he's apparently outrageously good at math and smart.
Yeah.
And then Do is just kind of like Boo 2.0, you know,
but more in control.
Yeah. But I really love their dynamic with each other too. Like they're just like they're bros. They're just bros.
Yeah. I find it
we
weird.
Don't usually see whenever like two characters introduced get together. They're usually like great against each other. You know, we saw that with Nappa and Vegeta. We saw to a lesser extent, but with 17 and 18, like they the sibling rivalry kind of thing, whatever. But like Ku and Do are just cool.
Yeah.
And I like that.
I think it was interesting though. They've already like the Dragon Balls have already been collected now. Now it's just kind of like what happens next.
Well, now it's a matter of like, okay, how do we get our Dragon Balls together with her Dragon Ball? Like, is it going to be like another stealing of the night situation? Are we going to come to an agreement? Am I
also, like
our asses? Like,
I like how it's really unclear who's working for who at this point.
Yeah, because even like when Goma and Degasu like realized that Tamagami #1 is fighting someone, and they see who it is, and like they're even like, was it Degasu was like, oh well, maybe they're just like getting the Dragon Ball for us so that we don't have to worry about those other guys getting it. And Goma's just like, are you kidding me? When was the last time your sister did something nice for us?
Yeah, no, I think Artsu's on her own agenda right now.
Yeah, for sure. And like, I don't know if we mentioned it before, but I love the whole idea that she just kind of floats around in her hookah. Like,
yeah,
like it's like a witch's broomstick, but it's just a hookah, and she's just fucking puffing on it all the time. Like,
sure.
I like Arinsu as a character.
Well, I like how she's actually competent at what she does, and she's not like she clearly has motives. We haven't learned them exactly yet, but she's definitely got something going on.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, aside from that, we had a little bit of bickering between Goku and Vegeta before the episode ends.
Also,
nothing too crazy.
Their guide is also like the best character again.
Oh, Hybus.
Hybus, yeah.
Yep. Yeah, he's pretty great.
Man. Yeah, pretty action-heavy episode though. Not a ton of plot, even though there's definitely some stuff going on in the background. So we'll have to wait and see.
The only thing in particular that I could think of aside from all that is it was kind of like not super out in the open, but Neva gave the Tamagami a power up.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Which apparently he can just do that.
Neva's also up to something.
He's an enigma because I mean, even when he showed up in the first episode, he's just like, "Oh yeah, I can just summon the Dragon Balls. Like here they are." I can also just like make them not stone anymore. Here they are.
Like, yeah, I'm interested in him right now just because. I mean, I know you've already seen it, but I don't know. There's definitely something more there.
All I'm gonna say is Neva is going to plant a spark that very well has the potential to burn the fandom to the ground, and that's all I'm gonna say.
Oh boy.
But we'll leave that for about a month from now.
Yeah. Barring delays, because you never know these days.
True.
But yeah. Daima time. We're over halfway through. So
Yep. We're getting there. Only 8 more episodes.
Yeah, it's crazy. But what's not crazy is I don't know, this movie is also kind of crazy. We're talking about for this episode, we're talking about the 2002 Sam Raimi Spider-Man film.
Yep. And I just want to say right here at the top, like after watching this a couple of times this week, like and I've really like I've found myself looking at it in a very different way than I ever have. And
Mhm.
maybe it's just for the age, maybe it's because I'm a parent now, maybe it's I don't know, it could be any number of things. But I was seeing this very differently than I saw it, when I was a kid, when I was a teenager. Um and in a lot of ways, I feel like this is like the golden standard for the superhero film.
The modern superhero film, I'd say.
Yeah.
Because when I think of classics, I still think Superman 78 is probably like the pinnacle of superhero films.
Yeah, well,
For
when it
like,
comes to like turn of the century.
yeah, for modern film practices, Spider-Man, the original Spider-Man, this movie has aged in most regards. There's a few things we'll get into, but in most regards, this film has aged wonderfully.
For sure.
It still looks good, even for like 2002. I mean, yeah, there's some product placement that made me laugh, but
There's a couple scenes that are a little rough with the CG or the green screen, but yeah, for the most part, a lot of it holds up very well.
oh man. So similar to our Superman 78 and our Batman 89 retrospectives, we're not going to go beat for beat. We're going to kind of just go over the film and kind of give our thoughts on a lot of it.
Mhm.
Um, so the first thing I wanted to bring up right away was Sam Raimi's direction.
Mhm.
It has a style to it that I think a lot of superhero films just don't have. And it was very apparent when he did the that Doctor Strange film years
Mhm.
later that it's like you watch that and you go, "Oh yeah, I remember this."
Yep, for sure. Um, I thought it was weird because I don't remember if this is like something that's happened in superhero movies up to this point, but the whole like, who am I? Like, I'm that guy over there. Like, was this like one of the first movies that like really did that? Because there was like a while where we were seeing a lot of movies that were doing that. It's just like, oh, like, who am I? Like, well, I bet you're wondering how I got in this predicament. That
It was
whole.
definitely the first superhero film to do that because I know Batman definitely didn't do that. Um, Also, the build up, like the start, was very like this movie just kind of starts and it goes from there. And I was like, wow. Um, it's also very interesting watching this nowadays because you got to remember this came out 2002. Spider Man was in a much different place in 2000 in the
Mhm,
early 2000s than he is now
for sure.
because nowadays Marvel doesn't know what the fuck to do with him. Um, he actually had a competent direction in the early 2000s. So
Well, that's because it didn't have to tie into anything. It was his own thing, so they could kind of just do what they will.
it was that, and also Marvel hadn't forever roadblock the character into being stuck in like his pathetic like teenager self.
Mhm.
Like he was able to grow and actually develop. 'Cause I'm going to preface this right now. I have serious issues with how Marvel has handled Spider-Man since 2007. So,
Yeah, that's
um,
fair.
so
Um,
I'm getting my because you got to also remember too. I'm a bigger DC fan. Marvel, I was always mostly a Spider-Man fan. That was it.
mhm.
And Marvel absolutely destroyed any interest I had in following Marvel comics in 2007. So get that out of the way now.
Fair enough. Actually, funny you say that. I've been reading Deadpool comics.
I'm sure Deadpool's fine. I just have a certain comic came out in 2007 from regarding Spider-Man, and it's ruined any interest I've ever had in checking out Marvel stuff again. So
Fair enough. Um, so yeah, I just want to say at the top, like, I'm kind of torn on the Peter Parker character in this movie
oh,
because
Toby, good old
he's
Toby.
he's 50% one of the most relatable characters I've ever seen in my life, and 50% like the worst friend on the planet.
Yeah. Um,
like, like honestly, like in a lot of ways, like I don't blame Harry for the direction he went. I don't.
is it bad that I forgot about the Mary Jane Harry relationship entirely?
Yeah, that's fair.
I completely forgot that was a thing. I was like, oh right, he just straight up swoops in there.
For real. Like, well, I mean, with Harry, it's like I get it, because they do the whole thing where even Harry's like, oh yeah, like he's been in love with her since the fourth grade. Like they met when they were 6 years old. Like, and he even says like when he's finally like telling Peter that he's dating her, he's like, look, you never made a move. And like I get it. Like, if you've liked this girl since fourth grade and you go all the way through past high school graduation and still have done bro, there's a statute of limitations on that. All right. Like I get that you like her, but you waited too long. Like she's not gonna wait for you. I'm not gonna wait for you. I gave you your chance. Like
Yeah.
so I get where Harry is coming from here. I get it.
I forgot how pathetic they made Peter at the start of this film too.
Yeah, even like the super nerds like couldn't stand him, which I thought was like really over the top. But
I was just like, I forgot about him chasing the bus, and I was like, damn, like how is he? First off, how is he keeping up with the damn thing? Because there's no way anyone's that fast.
But it's the city. It's not like the traffic's moving that fast.
True. Also, the fact that the bus driver was a massive asshole too. I was like, God damn.
Again, he's a public driver in New York, so
yeah. I want to bring up like right at the start though, Tobey Maguire as Peter Parker / Spider-Man. It's interesting looking back because I still think he was probably too old for this role when he took it.
I think a lot of these people were too old for these roles.
That 40-year-old woman in the high school, I will always look at and be like, no, like just be like, no.
I was keeping my eye out for her because I know you've mentioned her a bunch of times, and I couldn't figure out which one you were talking about.
The scene when he slams Flash across the thing, and he has that like goofy like, "Hey, I did it." There's a girl in the background, and this you look at this woman for like 3 seconds, you're like, "There's no way." Like, no, that is not a high schooler.
Mm-hmm. Like the only one I think when it comes to like age casting that I think like kind of gets a pass is Kirsten Dunst, and that's only because I also happened to just by chance watch the first Jumanji this week, and that came out in 1995, and she was like maybe 14 at best in that movie.
Yeah.
And so that means like she couldn't be older than like 22, 23. So I mean, she's still like relatively within the realm of high school age. So
I forgot they gave her a wig in this movie, to be honest.
I didn't know if it was a wig or not. I mean,
I
people use wigs and they also dye hair, so I never know. So
I only noticed because I was watching all 3 of these, just because like once you watch the first one, I'm like, I want to go see the second, and I believe the third movie was the one where she actually dyed her hair for the role, and there's a big difference when you look at between the first 2 and that one.
Yeah, it's that noticeable.
Yeah, it's also the early 2000s. They weren't as convincing at times.
That's fair.
It's also interesting too because I always forget that in this universe they don't do the Gwen Stacy thing. They go laser they do, but they completely revamp how it goes in the canon.
Mm-hmm. Also, I couldn't stop myself from thinking of the Amazing Spider-Man at one point because there was that scene where it was like the big parade when Green Goblin makes his like big debut, and when Mary Jane falls from the balcony and Spider-Man catches her, and they do the whole like kind of bungee save where they stop like this close to the ground, like they just barely make it, and all I could think of was the end of Amazing Spider-Man 2. Like, Andrew would be real fucking mad if he saw this scene.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because the yeah. We probably should talk about the fucking Green Goblin costume and the one thing in this movie that has not aged well.
I mean, I kind of get what they were going for, but it definitely doesn't look great, and it looks very stiff. Like
it's
sure.
The plastic mask is what it just even back then I'm like that looks goofy as fuck. Thankfully we've seen No Way Home. Is it No Way Home or Far From Home? I can never remember the two.
No Way Home.
In No Way Home, he actually gets an updated costume, which looks so much better. That being said, though, William Dafoe, fucking love him in this movie.
Absolutely kills it. He is so fucking cartoony about it, and I love every second of it.
I just love that voice. Like anytime I hear like Green Goblin in anything now, I'm always like, it's got to be Defoe because Defoe,
Yep.
the mirror scene is my favorite scene in this movie because it's so fucking good.
Yep. And you know what's funny too is that you said this movie came out in 2002.
Mhm.
So this would have been like right around the same time that Lord of the Rings Two Towers came out, and they did a very similar like split personality talking to each other kind of scene with Gollum looking into a pool of water and they did like the exact same kind of like back and forth between the reflection and the actual face. And like I don't know, it just works so fucking well. I love it.
Mm. Yeah, I just like the casting in this movie is surprisingly decent. Like, yeah, some of them are probably too old for their roles in certain degrees, but I love Tobey Maguire as Spider-Man. I know
Mhm.
that might just be nostalgia speaking. Um,
Well, there are some actors. There are some actors that are literally born to play certain roles, right?
mhm.
And we get. I don't know if Tobey Maguire necessarily falls into that realm. He's great in this movie and in this movie series, but J.K. Simmons,
That the fact that they brought him back because he's that perfect.
yeah, like he was born to play JJJ, like
Yeah,
no question. Like
he's
there's
just
some like so he killed every scene he was in. I
not
absolutely
only
loved it.
does he look just like him, but like the voice, that voice is perfection. Like
Yep.
the I know I don't think it's this movie, but the laugh and "you're serious" line, like that is still one of the perfect
Yep.
moments in like there's a reason they brought him back for any time they need that character to show up.
Mhm. And just like like when he first like comes in asking for the job, he comes in with the pictures. He's like, "Oh, look, there he is. You know, I got these great pictures." And he's like, "Oh, freelance, perfect thing for a kid your age." Blah blah blah. And he's just like, you know, keep coming in. Maybe I'll pay for you. Maybe I'll pay you for it.
Well,
Maybe I won't. Or I'll send
my
you some meat. How about some Christmas meat?
yeah, like my favorite is that he's like $200. He's like $200, but these pictures are great. He's like, well, fine, take them somewhere else. And then Peter actually like wraps it up, starts walking away. He's like, nah, come back here. $300, that's the standard freelance wage. And he's like, all right, I was just fucking with you, kid. Come back.
He's like, I'm just trying to
Um,
grift you. That's all. There's, you know, that's what we
I
got to do
also
in the city. You know.
I also love this. I love the scene too, where he's like, Peter's trying to hit on the girl out in the office, and he's like, "I'm a cameraman," and she's like, "I can see that."
You know what's funny too? That's fucking Elizabeth Banks. Like
Yeah,
I didn't even like I totally forgot that she was in this movie.
yeah. It's just so funny. Like I love just how fucking awkward Tobey Maguire makes that character because
Yeah.
I always say he was like the best, like Peter. Like Andrew Garfield probably was a better Spider-Man, like the actual in the costume scenes, but Toby had that perfect, just pathetic dork like
Yeah,
vibe to him.
Garfield definitely got like the quippy one-liners part of Spider-Man like down pat for sure.
Tom Holland's good at both, but I don't think he's perfect at either, which is one of the
I
reasons
I don't know. Go ahead.
he's a better younger Spider-Man, I'll say that.
Yeah, to the point where they won't fucking age him up.
Well,
They even
that's
blipped him to avoid it. Like
that's just Marvel. That's just Marvel. They won't let him grow up. This is why I have
well,
problems with Marvel.
well, things are moving forward with the fourth one, which apparently we're not going to be seeing for at least another couple of years, but
Which will come out first, that or the next Spider-Verse?
it's a good question. It's a good question.
Spider
Which I would like to cover the Spider-Verse movies at some point down here as well.
I watched both of those like this weekend actually. Not
I
this
I,
weekend,
I
last
still
weekend.
I still haven't seen the second one, but I enjoyed the first one a lot.
Hmm.
Um, that actually was the one like when I heard that No Way Home was happening, like they were bringing back all the Spider-Man and shit. I was just like, please, for the love of God, make Tobey Maguire like the old grizzled, like jaded Peter Parker that we get from Spider-Verse. And we didn't quite get that. Honestly, I think Andrew Garfield fit that role more.
Yeah.
But
Well, Andrew Garfield's design is definitely closer to what Peter B is. Peter B though is like is actually like exactly what I would want from Spider-Man, where they actually let him grow the fuck up.
yeah, for sure.
Well, that's why I like Miles Morales as a character because it's actually like, look, there's your young Spider-Man. You can do whatever you want with him, and let Peter grow the fuck up, please.
Yeah, and they made him super overpowered for no reason, but
Yeah,
whatever.
I know. I know.
Because I think
Uh,
Spider-Man didn't already have enough going for him.
yeah.
Um,
Back to the film though. James, what about James Franco as Harry?
This is one of those like roles where like, because I mean at this point like we've seen James Franco be like the cheesy goofy comedy character so many times, and like going back to his roots, because this was like his big breakout role, like this was like the role that made him. um and I love seeing him in these kind of more serious roles because it really shows like how good he actually is at acting.
Mm.
Because there's so many scenes, like even just going to like look at the graduation scene, right? Where like, and then at this point we've already had like some different exchanges with him, but like there's a scene where Will Dafoe comes up to him and he's like, "Oh, you know, not the first time I've been proven wrong. You know, you did it. Good for you." And like that's such like a backhanded compliment, and you can see that on his face too when he's like kind of processing what was just said to him. But at the same time, he's like happy because one thing you'll notice throughout this movie is like he is like craving attention from his dad. Like
Oh yeah.
he wants daddy's love, you know, and he's like, okay, I'm getting a little bit of that attention. Like great, like this is my moment, awesome. And then he literally just shoves him aside and says, "Oh, Peter, I'm so sorry to hear about your uncle. Here, let me pull you aside and we'll have a nice father son conversation." And you see James Franco in the background as they're talking, like, what the fuck? Like, and you
And
can
that's
see it on his face, like the sheer like crushing disappointment. And he just like shoulders up and walks away. Like,
well, he then immediately goes and Max on Mary Jane, and I'm like, damn, he did that in a spike.
yeah,
Like,
right.
I was convinced because it's every time he did stuff like that, I was always like, I'm like, Peter didn't really do anything wrong here, but I get it. I get it, man.
Well, that's the thing is like I don't necessarily. I mean, we'll get to that stuff later on with the whole Mary Jane thing. But as far as like throughout this whole movie, and I think to a greater or lesser degree, like throughout his whole arc, throughout the three movies, he is constantly competing with somebody for attention, for recognition, for affection. Um, you know, he has to compete with Peter. Actually, it's usually Peter. He has to compete with Peter for his dad's attention and affection. He has to compete with Peter for the girl he loves, attention and affection. And even when he doesn't know it's Peter, when it's Spider-Man, he's still dealing with that. And then later on, obviously, when he finds out, you know, obviously that's going to have a whole effect on him, which, you know, in a lot of ways, like watching this movie really made me say, huh, I get the whole new Goblin shtick he had going. I get it, man. He had every right, not every right, but like I don't blame him. I don't.
The thing with that is like you get it, but at the same time, it's like Peter isn't even. It's completely unintentional. Like Peter's just trying to live his life, and this stuff just kind of happens. But
Yeah.
granted, that's Spider-Man mythos, basically.
But even like, you know, when you get into the whole Mary Jane stuff, right? So like, you know, obviously he gets together with Mary Jane and he wants to keep it quiet because he gets it. You know, my best friend has been in love with her forever. Like, he's gonna have to find out eventually, and I know that. But you know, I don't. I'm not ready to tell him and like, you know, hurt him like that. I don't want to hurt him. He's my friend. You know, you kind of, that's understandable, right?
Hmm.
And then it finally comes out. He explains himself, whatever, and then they start having problems. You know, their relationship starts having problems. And when they're having the whole hospital scene and Peter and Mary Jane are talking, and like, you know, she's kind of like, you know, asking about Spider-Man, and even like there's so many scenes, like it's hard for me to pin down individual ones because there's scenes where you can tell Mary Jane's fucking pulling some strings here too, because she knows how he feels, right? She knows how Toby feels,
Yeah,
but and she's fishing for it while she's dating his best friend. You can see it very, very visibly, you know? Like
yeah, that
she's
was a
like,
weird choice in
"What
this
do
film
you
because
think of me? How do you think about this? Why don't you tell me your opinion?" Like, you know, she's like very like you can tell she's playing coy with him. Like it's very obvious.
that was the thing about this movie that I found very interesting because the portrayal of Mary Jane is interesting to me because I know a lot of people don't they consider Kristen Dunst's performance as like the worst Mary Jane there has been, which debatable, but I didn't hate it. I just thought it was they're trying something different because they were going with a very different direction. Because I know in the comics, Mary Jane was originally Harry's girlfriend, because he was with Gwen Stacy at the time, and then they kind of stuff happened there. I haven't read enough Spider-Man to really remember the exact, but
Mhm.
um, to be honest though, the hospital scene to me, like Harry had kind of already blown it by that point with the Thanksgiving disaster.
But again, at the same time, it's like again, I get where Harry's coming from. You know, like
Hmm.
I definitely don't think he should have stood up for his dad because his dad was being a total bitch in that whole scene.
His dad went full goblin there.
Yeah, exactly, and that's what it was, and it's not even necessarily his fault. Like, yeah, he had his shitty moments raising him, but past the point of fucking goblin being a thing, like a lot of that stuff wasn't technically his fault because he keeps having these personality switches, and that keeps fucking with him. And like you can see him in the moments of weakness where like at his core he's not like a bad guy.
Because we see that
He's just constantly getting beaten down.
Because we see that in No Way Home later when he comes back, when he briefly has his sanity again.
Yeah. And yeah, like the whole Thanksgiving scene, I definitely don't think Harry should have stood up for his dad. But when she's like, "Oh, you didn't defend me, this and that, blah blah blah," I'm like, he kind of did, like, but it's not like he had a whole lot of chance to get in there,
Yeah. Did you
And then
notice
like,
too, like the first half of this movie is paced like incredibly well, and then the second half is very quick.
yeah, it speeds right by. It's almost like
Probably
they wish they had like an extra half hour.
it's probably it was if this movie was made nowadays, debatable whether it'd be good or not the same way, but they would have been able to actually flesh everything out because movie runtimes can be like long now.
Yeah. But then at the same time, you had the original Superman movie, which is like 2.5 hours long. So I mean, I guess
The early
maybe
two
it's just in
thousands
that weird
was
middle point.
the early 2000s. That was just a weird thing. A lot of movies was like it had to be just under the 2 hour mark.
Yeah. But at the same time, like I say, like I don't know how long Mary Jane and Harry were dating by that point.
Not very long
But
from the way it seemed.
but well, I mean, it had to have been.
A couple
We'll say because
months,
obviously
maybe.
it's Thanksgiving, right?
Yeah.
And he started talking to her during graduation. So that would have been like what, May?
Yeah, so
So it
like a
had to
couple
have been about
months.
6 months, give or take. So you'd think they would know each other well enough to that point where she would have a general idea of like how Harry is as a person,
You'd
his
think I will.
issues, his strengths, his weaknesses, everything else. Obviously, he's got daddy issues. That's very clear
Yeah,
from the rip.
that's one thing I'll say about these films, and one of I think their flaws is with Sam Raimi's direction is they really did not not flesh out any of these relationships very well. They kind of just happen in the background. It's more about the stuff around it,
Mm-hmm.
and because that's a problem with 2 and 3 as well. But it's such a minor thing in the grand scheme of the film that you don't really think about it too much. It's more when you start breaking it down.
Yeah. Um, but no, it's just like these little things that I notice. I'm just like, man, I really feel for Harry in these movies. Like he just
True.
keeps getting beaten down. He's always has to compete with somebody just for a little bit of
Always compete
affection.
with somebody who's not even trying to compete with him, which is the saddest part about it.
Like he's got to compete with his best friend and this superhero guy, who turns out same person.
Yeah. And worst of all, they're not even trying. It just is.
And you can tell, like even the scene where, like, say he like after the whole parade scene, right? When Harry's on the phone with Mary Jane, you're only getting Harry's side of it. But like he keeps saying, like, "Oh, amazing! He's amazing!" Like this and that. He's just like, and like you can tell, like watching him, like he wants so badly to be there for her in this scene, but she's just all, "Oh my God, Spider Man! He did all this stuff, and he's so great." And like he's kind of trying to like be the guy, he's trying to be the guy to be there for her and take care of her and do what he needs to do. And you can tell, like, just by the look on his face, like he feels like there's no room for him to be that. And then he goes to what I'm assuming was his dad's default whenever there was an issue was, let me buy you something.
Yeah, that's a typical rich kid thing where they don't know how to. Well, I shouldn't say it. That's a typical movie rich kid thing.
Yeah.
F-
Well, you can tell, like, based like with Harry and Norman's relationship, like that was how Norman got him to shut up. You know, and they never obviously never had like a real heart to heart until that like
mm.
really fake one midway through the movie.
Well, because you got to think about it too. It's very heavily implied that his only friend has been Peter the entire time.
Yeah, well, apparently from what we hear in the beginning of the movie, he bounced schools a lot until he finally settled in public school, which is what I'm assuming he wanted all along.
Probably.
Like he just wanted to be a regular kid. And that's probably why, like, I know it doesn't get into that, but that's probably why he singled out Peter specifically for a friend, because Peter was like the kid that everybody hated. You know, so he's just like, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna find the most down and out kid here, and he's gonna be my best friend.
This is jumping around a bit, but you know a plot hole I just kind of thought of that like doesn't really get explained because it's a movie. It probably wasn't important.
What?
When he gets bit by the spider, that spider just walks off. Like that could bite anybody else too.
Yeah, I always wondered about that too.
Because I was thinking, cause I only bring it up because I watched Into the Spider Verse recently. In that one, the spider gets killed, and I'm just
I think Garfield kills his too.
yeah, I was just kind of sitting there going like, that spider could bite more people. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Well, at least in Spider-Verse, like they could have gotten away with it running off because it was just in the sewer, so it's not like it was like doing much.
Yeah, it was also
If I'm remembering that movie right.
yeah, they were in the subways actually.
Well, same difference.
It was also a glitch, so it probably wasn't going to survive much longer, anyways.
Fair. But yeah, so I guess we kind of just skipped over like everything before they moved to the city, didn't we?
Well, I mean, Peter. We should talk about the organic web shooters. That is one of the things this movie thought was a good idea, and it was. They haven't really. It's been a thing that the comics are like. They tried it once, and they were like, "Let's never do this again."
Yeah. You know what's actually kind of funny is, well, first of all, like this was the first PG-13 movie I saw in theaters, and I was like 7, I think, when we saw it. It was 2002, so yeah, that sounds about right. It was like 7 or 8, and this was what I thought Spider-Man was for the longest time.
Oh yeah,
until I actually picked up a Spider-Man comic and I saw him fucking with web cartridges, and I'm like, the fuck. Like,
yeah, same. Because because when this movie came out, that's when I started checking out the. So this was the early 2000s. That was during the JMS run, which really kind of is what brought my interest into Spider-Man. Like, was that run, which is a shame because the end of that run is what ruined my interest in Spider-Man. But there's actually an entire arc in this run where he actually gets the organic shooters because they wanted it to be same as the movie. And then once these movies were done with, they immediately were like retcon that out of existence.
well, what would have been a smarter way of going about it is if they just had a separate line of comics based on the movies. Like, this is specifically Toby Spider-Man. This is specifically Kirsten Dunst MJ. Like, if they just built off of that universe and made their own comic series based around that, that probably would have worked better.
Comics weren't as willing to take risks like that back in the day, though.
Well, that's the thing, is they didn't have to just commit to that. They could have had 2 succinct, like, running separately.
There already was like 4 Spider-Man books at the time, so
fair enough. I don't know enough about the comic. I'm gonna try and make the time to get more into a lot of that stuff. But
like
as of right now, my knowledge on comic Spidey is very minimal. Hell, even cartoon Spidey is minimal because I haven't watched any of that in a long, long time.
To be fair, the only cartoon Spidey I know is the '90s show. So
Radioactive
Spider-Bud. Fucking that show is amazing and fucking awful at the same time. I fucking love it.
You know what's funny is I think I saw the movie and then I was like, oh, Spider-Man cartoon is on. And I don't even remember like what the context was. It might have been like a dream or something. But it was like, I think it was right after Peter got bit by the spider. And I don't know if it was a dream he was having or if this actually happened or something. But like, Aunt May walks into his bedroom and he's just a fucking spider with a human head on the fucking
Yeah,
ceiling.
I've seen
I'm like,
that.
what the fuck is happening?
That show had some moments. Like the scene where he's like in like the black suit and he's all like his emotions are all over the place. I always think of the scene with Shocker where he's like, Shocker! Like, oh man. Fucking such a dumb show, but I loved it.
Yeah.
See, DC was by far the better cartoon people at that time, but Marvel had some moments. Like the X-Men show and that Spider-Man show had their moments.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, I don't know if we want to talk about like any of the, like pre-Spider-Man stuff, like when he was like before his powers, then when he was just kind of getting used to them.
Well, before his powers, there's really not a lot. He just kind of is that awkward nerd. He keeps trying to take photos of spiders, and the God, cartoon bullies are so fucking stupid. I hate cartoon bullies so much.
Yeah, yeah, the
'Cause they're both-
freaking crocodile fucking with them.
They're both unrealistic and heavily exaggerated compared to what actual bullies are like.
Yeah, yeah.
Like to me, like the best like comedy bullies in media that there's ever been are Bulk and Skull from fucking Power Rangers. Like those guys, that's how you do a comedic bully, because they're just dumb. Like they're not like, I hate when they're like they're trying to be realistic, but nobody understands what bullying actually is, so they always go make it way too exaggerated.
I still like 30-year-old Flash Thompson in this movie. Then I like him more than the one we got in the MCU right now.
Yeah, well, he's just a fucking meathead in this one. Like that's really about.
Well, that's what he should be, though. That's what he's, that's his whole deal.
Well, I was figuring because in comics he was Venom for a while.
I guess that makes sense. I love how they name drop Eddie Brock. Like,
yeah, they brought up Eddie. They were like, Eddie just getting photos, and we won't see Eddie until the third movie.
Which, that's something, isn't it?
Yeah, Topher Grace. Oh,
I never forget the moment when I realized that was Topher Grace. Like,
I didn't
it
realize
like,
it
was
years
way later. Later.
Yeah,
Like I was already out of my mom's place and everything. Like Spider-Man just happened to be on when I was visiting. I was like, holy shit, that's Eric Foreman.
Well, it's because he has like blonde hair and he doesn't look like Eric Foreman. And then you hear it and you're like, wait a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Like, I do love that cafeteria scene where like he's like just starting to have the realization that something. Well, actually, I like when he wakes up the next morning and he's suddenly fucking ripped. It's like, yeah, that just happened overnight.
My eyesight's better because I guess spiders have better eyesight. I don't know.
He's just superhuman in this. I'm just like, okay, cool.
Does he have like spider eyes? Like, does he actually have like a million eyes within his eye, and that's why he sees good?
Sure.
Like compound eyes or something. Like,
sure, let's go.
Is he like he got the compound eyes ability from Pokemon? Is that we got something like that going on?
I also love the fact that like when he's going on his quest to like do that like wrestling thing to get the $3,000, it's entirely selfish why he's doing it.
Yeah, he just wants to impress the girl. That's what it is.
Yeah, buy a fucking stupid car that he's not even going to use.
Yeah, right. You live in New York, bro. Nobody drives.
Yeah,
the only people who drive are taxi drivers and bus drivers.
Yeah, and it's just like he does the wrestling. I did love the wrestling scene though, just because it's like it's such a stupid over the top variation of that.
Yeah, I was really debating doing a bone saw thing for the opening of this episode, but I decided against it.
I was just thinking of the scene where he's getting walked down into the ring and like the fucking stage girls and everyone's just fucking pelting him with shit, and I'm just like, God damn.
Yeah. Also, I just want to say, like, when he does the whole, like, I didn't sign up for no cage match, blah, blah, blah. They blatantly said, can he survive in the cage for 3 minutes when he was about to introduce him? So, like, he said it. Like, he did say it.
Toby's not the smartest.
Also, like, who was the actress who was signing him up for the thing? Because she was super familiar. I know I've seen her in something before.
That is a good question.
There's actually a number of actors that I would see in like little bit roles in this movie. I'm like, this person ended up like being a big actor, and like that would happen a few times throughout this movie.
See, the thing, about these movies is I think a lot of them just happened to be friends of Sam Raimi because Sam Raimi had a lot of friends that he would just kind of have in every single movie.
Oh, I see. So he's the Mike Flanagan of superhero movies.
Well, that's why Bruce Campbell appears in freaking like every. That's what Bruce Campbell was the ring announcer.
That's what it was. See, he was another one that I was just like, I know this guy. I know him.
Oh, Octavia Spencer.
Mm-hmm.
That was her name. She was the. What else has she been in?
She's not the lady from Ma, is she?
She is. She was in Ma.
Okay, that's what it was. She was like the main villain of that movie. That was a fucked up movie.
She's been in a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I was gonna say like I know I've seen her around, like for sure.
Oh, wait a minute! I just realized the wrestler was Randy Savage. How did I miss that? Jesus. Because when I think Randy Savage, I think fucking Alex's stupid voice she does now, and I'm always like, God damn it.
Oh, now, oh man, you gotta have fucking Alex sit down and watch this movie and see that guy right there. That's the guy.
I keep forgetting he passed away too.
Yeah, he's still selling them Slim Jims though.
He sure is.
I see his face on Slim Jims all the time. So Uncle Ben, like,
very
that scene still gets me, man.
Well, just especially because like I forgot that the last thing Peter says to him is the whole like, well, stop being my dad.
Yeah, you're not my father. It's like, well, fuck. I mean, he pretty much is, man. He raised you since you were at least 6.
Yeah, you're dead.
Do you even remember your father? Like,
no, most comics fans don't remember his dad at this point.
Like, I'm just saying, man. Like, that was so fucked up. Like that kind of shit always kills me when I see that shit. It's like, oh, well, he's dead. Like,
well, especially when we find out in the third movie that it wasn't even the guy that Peter goes after, but which was completely a change for the movies, but that's besides the point.
Yeah.
Then we find out it was a fucking accident too. Like that still kills me.
But just the way that the actor plays Uncle Ben like delivers that line where he's laying in the street. He just says Peter twice, but like the way he does it is just so on point. And
that Tobey Maguire crying face is so iconic too, because you're like, God damn, only Tobey could pull that off.
Yeah, and they sprayed something in his eyes for that because that was not a natural like way that tears go down at all.
That is honestly
tears don't start in the middle, bro.
that is like one of the honest appeals of Tobey Maguire's like portrayal of Peter Parker is like so many of his faces are so forced and unnatural that it's like it's actually kind of works for this role.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a live action version of a cartoon or of a comic book. It's in a lot of ways that's part of the reason why Will Dafoe does such a great job is because he's so fucking animated.
Hell, it's one of the reasons why going back to Superman, why Christopher Reeve was such a good Superman.
Oh, and we also got a Superman-esque montage of Spider-Man just running around doing Spider-Man things
while taking photos of himself.
Well, at first he was just doing Spider-Man things. Then he started taking photos when he realized that because Dr. Connors fired him apparently.
Oh yeah, and they referenced that again later because Dr. Connors appears in the later films.
Briefly, it's not important until the Amazing Spider-Man, but yeah.
Well, he's in the third movie because he gives him the Venom specimen, but
right, yeah, that's right. They study it together
because he was supposed to be the lizard in the never released Spider-Man 4.
That would have made a lot of sense.
Apparently, that movie had one of the worst scripts ever made, though, to the point where Sam Raimi quit. But
I mean, he could have just requested a different script.
I think there was a lot of politics on that one because he already had issues with 3 because remember Venom wasn't even supposed to be in 3.
Yeah, they just kind of shoehorned him in there. That's why he doesn't show up until like 2/3 of the way through the movie.
Well, yeah, that's also why like the first half is great. Like the Sandman stuff is awesome because like Sandman's actually was a good villain.
Such a relatable character.
Then the guy who played him was just really good.
I
can't remember his name right now, but
yeah. But yeah, I
Oh,
don't know, man.
did you catch the Blink It or Miss It Stan Lee cameo?
No, I didn't. I was looking for him too.
The scene where they're at the party before Green Goblin first shows up, the big festival thing. He is in the crowd. There's a quick Blink It or Miss It shot where he's like taking photos or something, and then like right when like the destruction starts happening, he grabs and saves a little girl, and like there's a brief like Blink It or Miss It moment. And I was like, oh, there's Stan.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because I remembered him showing up in one of the later movies as a cameo, but I didn't remember him in this movie.
He's in all of them, like because he's been doing cameos pretty much since the this movie.
Was he in the X-Men, the original X-Men? I guess we'll find out when we cover it, but
I don't remember. I know he's been in that universe because he was in Deadpool.
Yeah.
The ridiculous Deadpool appearance.
Yeah.
He was also in the Spider-Verse movie, which got a chuckle out of me as well.
Oh, was he?
Yeah, he was the guy running the store. When Miles buys the crappy Spider-Man costume, and he's like, can I return it if it doesn't fit? And then he like laughs and then points to the sign that says, no, absolutely no returns.
Oh, there's another thing I noticed when I was going through the Spider-Man games that Stan Lee like narrates it.
Yeah, he does the narration for those two games. That was like back in the really, well, I mean, let's be real. Stan Lee has always been kind of more of a figurehead than a creator for a long time.
True. It got to a point where he just kind of became like the symbol.
They basically Marvel paid him just to be Stan Lee. Like that was like what it was by that point.
Hey, fucking whatever gets you there.
Yeah. So I was thinking like that the scene where the one of the most infamous scene, actually there's a lot of scenes in this movie now that I think about it. That creepy scene where the freaking scumbags go after Mary Jane, that was like I was like, damn, they did not give a crap back in the day.
No, the iconic Spider-Man kiss scene.
That scene still is iconic to this day. I was thinking that the scene where those like creeps are going after him, I'm like, this is like borderline uncomfortable to watch right now.
Yeah, especially since it's very, very apparent that she is not wearing a bra.
Oh yeah, well, and it was raining, and I was like, whoa! I was like,
yeah.
Whoa! I
was like, hi, I did not notice this before.
Yeah, your child brain's like, oh, is Spider-Man going to save the pretty lady? And then it's like, oh, it's like I think teenagers had their awakening there.
Yeah, I think I might have had one unconsciously or something when I watched that because I loved this movie when I was a kid. I don't know if I just never realized it, but
yeah, I was like, holy
I
crap.
noticed it this time.
Ooh, yeah, that happened. But also I forgot he didn't have his mask on for that fight scene. I'm like, how did she not see him? Like, it's very obviously him.
It was a dark alley. The lighting was just right. The
True.
camera only needed to see her, not him.
It's funny because I'm pretty sure this movie was the first movie that did the upside down kiss.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm pretty sure it's been replicated. It's probably the most iconic thing from this film.
Mm-hmm. Probably. And just branching off of that whole rant I had before about the whole love triangle. Like, even when like right before that whole mugging scene or whatever that was supposed to be, when he encounters her as Peter and it's like, oh hey, you had your audition and this and that, and like it's like, oh, how did you know about that? Harry doesn't even know. He's like, oh well, I have my ways essentially.
Well, no, he was like, oh, Aunt May, your mom talked to Aunt May and it went across the grapevine,
Yeah. And then like, yeah, it's just one of those things, it just seems kind of like slimy behind the back shit because it's just like, oh yeah, I took 2 cabs and a bus and I just came out, blah blah. It just seems kind of fucked up. It just seems kind of fucked up, man.
Yeah. I have to rewatch 2. I gotta like re-examine 2 again because I forget how their relationship is handled in 2. If anything, Spider-Verse has the most realistic. And ironically, they're divorced in that.
Well, apparently, according to No Way Home, like Toby and MJ are good. So
yeah,
maybe we'll see something about that in the future because there's still a bunch of rumors that Stranger Things girl is going to play their kid in the next one.
I've heard that.
because she was confirmed. She was cast as a character in that movie. They haven't like revealed who, but yeah,
It's
all
really
things considered, it's either going to be a brand new MJ specifically for Tom Holland, or it's going to be Toby and Kirsten's kid.
yeah. We'll wait and see on that. Honestly, it's going to be one of those things where I'm probably not going to think about that movie until it comes out. So
Fair enough. I mean, I'm looking forward to it. Just the way that they left off No Way Home, I'm looking forward to seeing where that goes.
which is weird because No Way Home is based off of the comic that made me quit reading Marvel comics, but it's a better way of handling that than they did in the comic. My God, but talk about One More Day for anyone who's curious what I keep alluding to, but that's besides the point.
Also, I also think it's kind of funny that the last Spider-Man movie that we got set up the second Doctor Strange movie, which then was directed by Sam Raimi.
Well, there's rumors about, I have no idea whether they're true or not, but there were rumors going around about Sony was interested in making an actual official Spider-Man 4 and an Amazing Spider-Man 3.
I was hearing a lot of rumors of like that after No Way Home, and I guess it's one of those things where we'll just have to wait and see. But
Yeah.
I don't think it's very likely.
Yeah, well, if Sam Raimi hated what 4 was going to be that much, I highly doubt he's going to ever touch it again. But
yeah, but at the same time, like they're not going to give him the same fucking script. They're gonna give him something different.
To be fair, though, if anything, Sony's just gotten worse at making making Marvel movies. So
yeah, well, I mean, I really can't judge. I mean, what products do they have aside from Spider-Man at this point?
Well, here's the thing: the Spider-Man movies, those are made with Marvel Studios.
The current ones, yes.
The since Amazing 2, they've made, not counting the Spider-Verse movies, those are like good. They've made the Venom trilogy, which is
I've heard good and I've heard bad. I haven't seen any of them, so I can't judge.
I've watched the first 2, and my thoughts were like, I was like, it's not bad, but it's not really good either. There was Morbius. We all know about Morbius. They just did that Kraven the Hunter movie, which apparently was bad. Oh, and then Madam Web, that was also apparently bad. So,
well, I haven't seen any. The only ones out of all the stuff that they've done that I have seen is the Spider-Man movies, so I have no frame of reference. So,
yeah, it's kind of like they have no direction. That's the problem. That, and like people have gotten super comic book movie fans have gotten very particular about their movies now. So.
Well, that standard has been set, and the people who set that standard haven't even been following that standard lately. So
no, they really haven't. Like they had to rely on a fucking Fox character to like their Fox stuff that they bought to actually make a well-received movie recently.
Yeah, the only 2 really good movies that have come out since the end of Phase 3 have been the Spider-Man 1 and the Deadpool Wolverine.
Yeah,
and honestly, I was gonna say I like the Doctor Strange movie, but I don't know what the general consensus is on that one.
I've heard mixed things. I liked it just because I really like Sam Raimi as a director.
I also like just the random, like, hey, look, it's Patrick Stewart. Huh?
Yeah.
Check it out.
I will say the Fantastic Four movie looks pretty good so far from the trailers I've seen.
I haven't seen any of the trailers yet, so I couldn't tell you.
It looks like they might finally get one that's good.
I liked the original one. I know it's may not be like the best movie ever, but I thought it was very fun, fitting superhero movie for the time.
The 2005 movie is fine, but it's also very much, it's one of those things where it's like you watch it now and you're kind of like, yeah, I can see why people don't like this one, but at the same time, it's safe. It's very safe. I think the problem with that one was they were afraid to actually do more with it. It also came out probably too early. Because there's no way they could do most of those powers just at that era.
Right.
So going back to Spider,
once they actually could do justice, they made that
Oh, Fanforstic.
Awful. Yeah, they made that abomination.
That thing, yeah. Um, Going back to Spider-Man though. So we had what do you think of that final climax with first Peter going to fight the to go save Mary Jane, and like the classic, like he's like, you have a choice, Spider-Man. You can either save the girl or save the kids. And Spider-Man's like, fuck you, I'm gonna do both.
Yep,
Um,
because that's what I do. I'm Spider-Man.
I also like the scene where all the people on the bridge are like, you don't mess with Spider-Man, you mess with us, and let's throw shit at him.
Yep. Which that we kind of get like kind of shades of that in later movies as well, with the whole like New York just kind of stepping up.
Well, that's just a very New York thing from what I've heard in general.
I mean, we've gotten a lot of like in a very real sense, New York itself is a character in these movies.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, even just like when they're going through the whole like Spider-Man, like Spider-Man being Spider-Man, they're doing all the like, interviews in the street with all these random people. It's like, oh, man with eight arms, sounds hot.
Yeah, that scene. Um, yeah, that final fight though in that like destroyed house, like that scene is so great. Like Spider-Man gets fucking the shit kicked out of him there.
Yep. And then, he mentions fucking killing MJ, and of course that he just gets rage mode and just drops a fucking wall on him.
Defoe's like when he tries to like backstab him, his whole no, Peter, it's me, like please help. And like you can see him reaching for his wrist thing, and I'm just like, oh, I'm like this. He's actually pretty convincing here.
Yeah.
And I just love the scene right before the glider impales him, where he just goes, "Oh,"
Yeah.
like it's just
Do you
such a
do you
perfect scene.
do you buy it? Like, do you think like that was actually like some of him kind of peeking through a little bit? Or do you think it was just an act the whole time?
Um, I think that was an act, but I think the scene at the end with the "Don't tell Harry" was
Oh,
genuine.
that was definitely genuine, but like even like when he's taking off the mask and he's shaking, like it kind of like, I don't know if just maybe No Way Home just painted my like viewpoint on it, but it looked very much um
If
like
anything, he was
it looked like the broken Norman Osborn.
if anything, he was fighting it, but he was losing the fight.
Yeah. Um but yeah, I don't know, man. There's so many aspects to this movie that I absolutely loved.
Yeah, I forgot about the ending scene where um MJ confesses to Peter and they kiss, and then like Peter's like, "No, I can't. I can only give you my friendship." I was like, "Ugh." I was watching that. I was just like, "Ugh." Because I forgot that was a thing. I thought they actually got together at the end.
Nope. Nope. That was you must have been thinking of the second one, because I'm pretty sure that's when that happens.
Probably. I was just like the cringe, man. No, the cringe.
Yeah. One thing I want to give props to Jameson,
Mm.
because when Green Goblin's knocking on the doors and trying to figure out who the hell Spider-Man is, and he bursts into the office, and Peter had like just walked out too. And he's just like, "Who takes the pictures of Spider-Man?" He's like, "I don't know. They get sent in by the mail." He's like, his instant reaction was protect Peter.
Well, I think the thing with JJJ has always been he cares about Peter. He just hates Spider-Man.
Mhm.
Like he gives Peter that whole like tough love kind of thing, but he does secretly care about him.
Yeah. And that's just one of those things where like those kinds of moments are the ones that like really reveal like the kind of person you are.
Mm.
Like that kind of like, and it's one thing just to be scared, but that was like shocked and scared. Like he was not expect. Also, I just love the scene where he throws his fucking cigar butt out the window and then it just fucking comes right back in and lands on his
Yeah, and he just looks
newspaper.
down.
He's like,
And he's
huh?
like,
The fuck?
yeah,
But
no, J.K. Simmons is he steals the show in this movie. Like, there's a reason why
yeah.
he's like so many memes are around him.
Mhm.
I forgot how many memes were from this movie, to be honest.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like the scientist meme at the start. I'm quite the scientist myself.
Yeah. He's a brilliant scientist.
I just like this movie has such a star-studded cast, and like Defoe just being Defoe. Like
Mhm.
all this stuff.
Even just looking at like his character arc throughout the movie, like he didn't want to use himself as a guinea pig like that. He was pushed into a corner and he had to.
Oh, the scene where he kills the scientist, that's still like one of the fucking darkest scenes in this movie.
Oh, that scene freaked me out when I was a kid. Freaked me out.
Yeah. It's
Back to
funny too.
formula.
It's really funny too because like I remember this is one of those movies that I vividly remember seeing it on TV all the time back in the day.
Mhm.
Also we didn't talk about her, but Aunt May. What do you think of her casting?
This was pretty much what my mental image of Aunt May was for the longest time.
Rosemary
To the point where she was revealed in
Civil
War, I was like, "What the fuck is this?"
Oh yeah, like even fucking Robert Downey Jr. makes the comment of like you're oddly attractive aunt. And I was just like, when I saw that, because I knew they were gonna do something completely different. I'm like, don't make. I'm like for the my in the theater when I saw that, my thought was, don't make Aunt May hot. Don't make Aunt May hot. Don't do it. Stop. Like
And
then
Happy starts fucking with her. Like fuck, they start fucking around, and it's like, oh god, what did you do to Aunt May?
Well, because Aunt May has always been like a fossil, like a relic. Like, and I'm always like, to the point where it's like, just let her goddamn die. Like, stop bringing her back. Like, that's another reason why I hate One More Day. But that's besides the point.
But there was a lot of scenes in the movie with her that I really enjoyed. Like there was, after graduation when
her
Peter's
performance
just
is great.
upset, when Peter's upset in his room and she's comforting him, and then the Thanksgiving scene, like even before like all the, like the really dramatic shit goes down, and like Norman's like picking at the food and she fucking slaps him. Like slaps his hand. She does like the old mom thing, the grandma
Would you
thing.
think of that scene where it's like, Norman, would you do the honors? And he's got the two knives and he's like putting them together. I'm like, dude.
That's what I mean. So fucking cartoony about it. Like
that was just the inner Defoe getting out. I'm like, that's just Defoe being Defoe.
Yep. It's like how did you say that happened? A bike messenger pushed me over.
Oh, that scene too, when he's like in the room and like Peter's on the ceiling and like the blood falls down. That is like, I see that and like I don't like seeing like blood like that, and it just like kind of like the way they animated. I was like, ew. I was like, I don't like that. And then
like
it just
the
looks
slightest sound.
And then it looks like ketchup.
Yep. And then like the scene where Green Goblin bursts through May's living room.
Oh, that scene was just so ridiculous. I was like, God damn! Like,
finish it.
How did that lady not have a fucking heart attack right there?
For real. And she's in the hospital, just there's so much about this movie that you wouldn't think would work because it's just so fucking cartoony, but like it works. The whole thing works.
Well, also those just unintentional, those like subtle, like creepy moments that like Sam Raimi is just like a master of.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's such a good movie.
Yeah.
It's just amazing to me. Like, this was like the start of this new era of superhero films, and like they really started with a bang because like we had just got off of because like right before this was Batman and Robin, and that movie basically killed the superhero movie for a while.
We did have the first X-Men between the Batman
was that first
series and
oh yeah,
X-Men
that was 2000. That was 2000.
Yeah,
that's true. X-Men really did kind of start it, although I still think X2 was probably the better of the early ones.
Yeah, I'd say yeah, probably.
I think it might just be I prefer Sam Raimi's direction over Bryan Singer's. Not that Bryan's. Well, I have problems with Bryan Singer as a director, but I do think those first two X-Men movies were very good.
Yeah, and X-Men and Spider-Man have a very similar situation going on, where the first two movies are really good. Then the third movie happens, and it's like,
I will say, Spider-Man 3 has good moments.
True.
X3 is.
I mean, X3 has some good shit too, but it's mostly like the comic book fan boner kind of good moments, like Ian McKellen floating the Golden Gate Bridge across the fucking, like that kind of shit.
See, with Spider-Man 3, I just think of like legit. If it had just been Sandman and like the new Goblin, it would have been a much better movie. The adding the Venom shit really makes that movie a little bit.
In a way, I mean, obviously we'll get more into it when we get there, but I feel like the new Goblin wouldn't have worked quite as well without having that extra villain. It didn't necessarily have to be Venom. It could have been anybody. It could have been fucking Vulture for all we know. But
well, if they'd kept the black suit and just had Peter be like the third villain, in a sense, like I feel like having, because I think the black suit was always supposed to be there. I think adding Venom was the thing that kind of broke that movie.
I think it's kind of weird to have the black suit and not Venom, but okay.
It's been done before. It's like they could have alluded to Venom eventually. It's a thing. It's kind of like
could have been like a little bit of the symbiote on the bar kind of situation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that. But I just feel like the impact of the whole journey of like the whole Harry's journey in the third movie would have been like, I just don't feel like it would have been necessary for Spider-Man and Harry to team up against just Sandman, especially since Sandman wasn't like a villain.
He's a tragic villain, I think is the best way to describe him.
Yeah. Like that's what I'm saying. Like he's not evil. Like it makes more sense to have a team up against someone like Venom than Sandman.
True.
But at the same time, it's one of those things where you'd have to completely rewrite the movie to make it work if you want to include those aspects.
Which I think is the reason why that movie doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
But
you have to bring it back to formula.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, so Spider-Man 1, a good film, honestly. It's held up a lot better, although I did laugh when I saw that giant singular wireless sign.
Yeah. Or even just like the scene where he's jumping on the rooftops. Like that was such a bad green screen moment.
I will say a lot of this movie did look good, aside from some of the fashion choices where I'm like, oh yeah, that was early 2000s, all right.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I like this movie though. I'm looking forward to covering 2 because I know 2 is like the movie.
Yeah, for a lot of people. I feel like most people consider 2 to be the best of the trilogy.
Yeah, I'd say so. But yeah, so I believe the next time we cover a superhero film, we're going to cover X-Men 1.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that was our idea. But for next week, we're going to actually be doing some web animation now, where we're going to be covering the first season of Red vs. Blue.
Yes. Something I've been wanting to do for a while, because that one kind of like scratches the itch of like video game related stuff, and then also, you know, some like kind of like nerdy, not television, but you know what I mean, like that kind of a production, we'll say.
Yeah. So that'll be fun, and we'll get that out. And then I believe after that, we're going to start Toriyama month.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll be looking forward to that. But anyways, guys, once again, thank you for joining us on the Gaming and Collecting. Sorry, the Geek Addicts podcast. I have already fucked it up, so whatever. But you can find Geek Addicts on all your major podcasting platforms, particularly, you know, it's weird. I was so used to Alex interrupting me that it was weird to actually say it properly, that it actually threw me off when I did. You can find Geek Addicts on all the major podcasting platforms, particularly Apple Podcast and Spotify. And be sure to check us out at superpodnetwork.com. Awesome site where you can find all sorts of different podcasts, videos, shows. We recently just did a broadcast on the YouTube channel going over the recent Nintendo Switch 2 Direct and our thoughts on that, as well as we're in the middle of doing some PS1 blogs talking about our favorite PS1 games. So be sure to check those out. And anyways, guys, once again, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you all next time.
Have a good one.